God, I can't believe the Browns are doing this.
Well, honestly, I
The
appreciate it.
Steelers are
It's
doing.
too much
Yeah, me
football for
too.
me this weekend.
Yeah, dude.
Do you want to
Well,
just
it was
start
nice
there?
at
Oh my
work.
gosh.
It was nice at work because I'm where I'm sitting right now is where I've been working from. That good.
There was like two, maybe three good games. I think, probably two to be fair. I thought Bills Colts was good, and then
Those Colts is good.
the other one, Ravens Titans today, was also good.
Yeah, it was second half was good. I actually enjoyed Buccaneers Washington. It went pretty much how I thought it was going to go, or at least how I thought it had a chance to go. Where
Yeah.
Washington hung around, but Tampa was just a little bit too much. But how about Heineke
Yeah,
going
I
out
think
there?
he'll probably stick around, right? He's probably gonna get another year or two out of that.
Yeah, so I'm assuming they're going to draft a quarterback, not necessarily in the first round though, because I think they want to have a competition where Heineke gets a chance. On top of picking at the end of the first round, a second or third round quarterback, I think makes a ton of sense for Washington.
For sure.
Unless you want to trade up and get a Fields or a Wilson, that also makes a ton of sense for them because they are a quarterback away. I mean, they're a quarterback away from being a really, really good team. Chase Young's only going to get better.
Sure.
The defense is really good.
Montez Sweat too. Both of them
Yeah.
still only gonna get better.
Your offense is really good. You had a top running back this year. You got McLaurin, who's fantastic. And if Heineke can run like he was in that game, he can move. I mean, especially in the pocket, not only just past the line of scrimmage, but in the pocket, he was fantastic. He was really good.
Yeah. It's weird. It's just so weird to me how this is the fifth quarterback of the Washington Football Club season, and maybe somehow the best one. Maybe the one they should have started with, which I don't know. I don't get how that happens. I just don't get how that happens.
What stood out to you? Did anything stand out to you from like a Buccaneers side in that game? Because to me, it was that the Buccaneers probably are not good enough to win a Super Bowl or probably even make it there.
Yeah, and I don't know. I had a hard time diagnosing what I felt like the problem was.
Same.
They have a ton of talent on offense. They still put up 30 points against really good defense. And it just feels like they're always leaving something on the table. Like there's always another gear that they could be hitting that they're not hitting. And I don't think the defense is bad, but I guess it can't be good, right? It has to partially be on defense, right?
Yeah, what they remind me of is a regular season LeBron James team. But now it's playoff time, and they still reminded me of that, where you're just watching it and you're going, is this team trying as hard as they can try? And then you're like, no. Okay, maybe they're just not as good. And with LeBron teams, you normally eventually find out they are good enough. And with this Tampa team, I think we got into this game and we found out I just don't think they're good enough. I think, a lot of the players on this team are just like a little bit overrated. Tom Brady's not he's not at his peak anymore. Leonard Fournette, even though he had a good game, is above average running back.
I think he was bad up until the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, on a good day,
season.
he's an above average running back.
Yeah.
Obviously, your receiving core is as good as it gets, but there's just something missing. You're right. I don't know exactly what it is, but there's something missing with that Buccaneers team. But I'm really excited for this Washington offseason.
Yeah,
I'm pulling for this team. I really think that they got something cooking. Like I said, a quarterback away, but they got to hit on that quarterback. It's the hardest position to find. There's one or two a year that end up being good franchise quarterbacks. Sometimes none.
Heineke is probably at worst a backup, so
yeah,
you can roll him out next year and try to do the same. And honestly, if the football team goes 8-8 next year and competes for a playoff spot, I still think that's a huge win for that team. I think they have 2 years to really get their quarterback situation figured out.
Yep.
They've got a little bit of room.
That defensive line is still young, especially with Chase Young. I mean, I'm still all on board with exactly what I thought about Chase Young going into the draft, that his future is one of the best, if not the best, D lineman in football one day. He had a really good rookie season, even through some injuries that it looked like he was battling through kind of all year. He's just a freak, man. We have one guy a week, every week we talk about that's in that class of just freak of nature. They don't make sense how they look, how they move. It just doesn't add up together. 2 + 2 = 5 with how those guys are athletically. But overall, I mean, good game, not great game. You thought Washington had a chance at the end, couldn't get it done. I think they ended up coming up with 4th and 20. But Washington should be ecstatic with how this season went. That was one of the worst teams in football last year.
I don't know who they owe this all to, but which god they pray to, that's the correct witch god. So
yes, that's a good way to put that. All right,
hang on a second. I want to pull up the full. I want to have something in front of me before.
Yeah, for sure, skis, dude.
I have this written down somewhere. So the Browns are going to win, and the Browns are the 4 seed, right?
Yeah. Do you have that set up?
Yeah, that's what I wanted. That's what I'm.
Awesome. Good. I had it set up earlier and I lost it.
So the other AFC team is the Ravens, who are the 5 seed.
So it's Green Bay versus the Rams.
Yeah, Rams, Packers, Saints, Bucks, and then it'll be. I'm right about that, right?
Yes.
The Browns are the 6 seed, and the Ravens were the 5. So then it'll be Chiefs, Browns, Bills, Ravens, which I actually think is the most interesting combination of games. So let's go.
Yeah, next week's gonna be awesome.
So let's go to this game next, the Bills Colts, which I think you and I both agree was the most interesting, most watchable game. Still very perplexed as to why they gave it this Saturday at 1 p.m. slot, historically reserved for the Texans and whoever they're playing against.
Or the Bears and Saints, which was the most boring game of football I've ever watched, but we'll get to that later.
Bucks Washington also could have been, I think, has an argument for that spot. Although it ended up being entertaining in its own unique way. I came away from this game feeling like I have a very good handle on where both of these teams are at holistically in a large scale level. The Colts are really good, but they're not great.
Need a quarterback, need a better one.
The Bills are just barely great. They are Kansas City light. They are 85% of Kansas City, and them playing the Ravens, which is the way that the bracket's going to shake out here, is a really important matchup for both teams. This is the game for them.
Yeah, well, I'll start with this game. So, first of all, Josh Allen, I love you. You're my favorite. You're my hero.
Josh Allen, you're my hero.
There's 3 of you in the NFL, though. You're the best one. There's you, there's Matt Stafford, and there's Justin Herbert. You guys are all the same quarterback. You're just a little bit better than the other 2. But he's legit. He showed up in a playoff game. We've had the Josh Allen can't handle big games talk already, which is nonsense. We need to start waiting a little bit before we do that. Guys got to learn how to play in big games.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And guess what he did? He learned how to play in big games. He came out 300 yards, didn't throw a pick, 2 touchdowns, led the team in rushing yards with 54, got a touchdown on the ground. Just an awesome game by him. I am still all the way on board with Bills got a chance to go to the Super Bowl, to win the Super Bowl. I think they have one obstacle. Maybe 2, right? I think their only team that's going to beat them in the AFC is the Chiefs. I think they're beating the Ravens next week. And I think the only team that can beat them in the NFC is going to be Green Bay. And that's just if Aaron Rodgers can just do a better version of Josh Allen. And we all know that he definitely is capable of it. So we know what the Bills are. We know that they're a team that can compete for a Super Bowl this year. We know they have their franchise quarterback. We know the defense is okay. It's not as bad as we've seen some weeks. And we know that through either deep ball, short runs, outside runs, throws over the middle, they can do it all on offense. But it's the Colts that I think are in the most interesting spot out of these 2, and really out of almost any team in the league.
Absolutely. They have the most interesting offseason. If they make 2 moves that are great, they're going to win a Super Bowl, which is a very interesting place to be at.
Did we talk about them last week trading for Matt Stafford potentially?
Not really, but I have something for that a little later. I have something lined up kind of for that. So
we'll save it. Awesome.
So I think that the thing about the Bills right now is that they can be beaten. I think that they are super super beatable. I think that Phillip Rivers looked very very good. If that's Phillip Rivers' last game, he literally took it down to the wire of every game clock. Like he was putting everything on hike at 2 seconds. Uh,
It would be sad if the last throw of his career is that he can't throw it 50 yards anymore, though.
oh, that would be pretty sad.
That would be. I mean, it was a good game. Like good completion percentage, ton of yards, no picks. I mean, a good game. But that guy just had. I've never seen. It's worse at this point than the last year of Peyton Manning on an arm strength level, where he's just throwing ducks and throwing ducks. At least Peyton Manning was always getting it there because he's Peyton Manning and he just knew how to put a ball where nobody else could grab it, whether it's going.
I felt like that was what I saw from Phillip Rivers. It
was
game.
For sure, but that's not what we've seen this season all year. It's a 1-year contract. He should probably retire, go take care of your 100 kids. You had a good run. You're not going to win a Super Bowl. Sorry, not everybody does, especially quarterbacks.
Stop commuting in from San Diego every day.
Yeah, just call it, man. And but I mean, there's almost no way they get worse this offseason.
Right.
I think another wide receiver, either re-sign T.Y. Hilton and go sign a wide receiver, or sign a wide receiver, maybe even Kenny Galladay, and go draft one as well. I think you need a little bit of help there. All you're going to do is make this defense that much better because it's going to be hard to improve a ton. And then you got to get quarterback figured out. But I think the Colts, I mean, they're in for a 3, 4, 5 year run here where they're going to be really competing every year.
They're down 3. They're driving with 2 minutes left. I mean, that's how close that game was. And I think what Phillip Rivers proved with Jack Doyle specifically this week is that you can beat the Bills over the middle. That there is some space there, and I think that we'll see when they play a better offensive team, the Ravens, who defeated the Titans today. I think that they'll have a harder time stopping them than they did even the Phillip Rivers noodle arm. Colts.
Yeah, I mean, I would think so as well. But I also think they'll have an easier time scoring. Can we talk about how lucky the NFL got in this game?
What do you mean?
Hold on, pause real quick because I got to remember exactly what happened. Don't put this in. Don't put this in. Don't put this in. Okay. How lucky the NFL was because the play, they go to review. They called him down by contact. He gets up. He very clearly fumbles the ball. I think it was Pascal. Very clearly gets back up and fumbles the ball. And the replay officials blow my mind in the play stands. Keeps the Colts alive. Imagine the type of fire the NFL would be under right now if the Colts came back and won that game.
I don't get why we're gonna spend 5 minutes doing replay if we're still gonna get it wrong.
And this was so obvious.
It's super obvious.
There was maybe a 0.5% chance that he touched him while his knee was still on the ground. And I know you need indisputable evidence, but 0.5%, kiss my ass if you're gonna. I mean, there's no way, and it almost cost the Buffalo Bills a playoff victory. I mean, it was on the final drive of the game, and they just missed it. And then the ref, I know it probably wasn't even on purpose. This was probably just me being angry. But when he said it stands, had a little smirk on his face, like, "Oh yeah, I got it right. I got it right."
I think that's in your head.
Oh man, it just was so infuriating. They took 6 minutes or something like that to review this, and it's clear as day, and they get it wrong. I know Roger Goodell was just sitting there sweating after they said it stood, just waiting for the backfire.
This is why I think the review rule needs to be 45 seconds. You get 45 seconds, 3 angles to look at it. You can do it up to like 30% speed. And if you can't figure it out, you can't figure it out. Let's get back to the game.
All that's going to happen then, we're going to keep getting them. We're going to get more wrong.
Honestly, the way that they get them wrong now, I think we might get more right. Just like
45 seconds, anything but the last 4 minutes of the game.
Okay.
Deal? Do we have a deal on that
If
one?
we're negotiating, I'll shake hands on that.
Okay, beautiful. So I don't think there's much to really break down from this game. I think it went how most people thought it would. The Colts are good. They're not as good as the Bills. I think it's that simple.
Yep.
Now, my biggest takeaway from the entire first weekend of the NFL playoffs comes from the Rams-Seahawks game. And that is Russell Wilson hasn't been good after the first 8 weeks of a season since 2015. Every time he's in the playoffs, nothing. Not since those back-to-back Super Bowl runs, against the Broncos, against the Patriots. Like, nothing. They don't have it. I don't know what it is. I don't know what changes. But he comes out the first 8 weeks of every season and is fantastic. Maybe the best quarterback in the league. And everybody's like, why don't we appreciate Russell Wilson more? What are we doing? Why aren't we? How has he never received an MVP vote in his life? I'm guilty of it. I do it every year. Mm-hmm. And then weeks 9 through 16 and the first round of the playoffs, he gets 180 yards a game and has like a 63% completion percentage. 11 to 27, 174 yards, 2 touchdowns, and a pick for a guy who a lot of people consider a top 5 quarterback in football. He's not that. I love Russell Wilson. I root for Russell Wilson. He's just not that guy.
So it's weird to say this about a 12-4 team, but I almost feel like they're a little bit back at the drawing board with a lot of their pieces right now. They've got a good quarterback, a good coach, and a good number 1 receiver. And I think
good number 1 and 2.
Yeah, Tyler Lockett for sure. And you've got to look at everything else around it and go, why is the rest of this so bad? Because they are bad everywhere else in the field.
Well, running back, they're okay there too. They got Chris Carson when he's healthy. He's really good when he's healthy, but I don't think you should need a star running back on this team. Not with Metcalf, Lockett, and Wilson.
They need like a good running back situation, and I just don't think that they have. I don't think Chris Carson for the 6 weeks of the year he's healthy in a playoffs game is. I don't think that's enough weapons. Who's their tight end?
I mean, somebody like a Kerryon Johnson would fit in fantastic on that team. Don't get me wrong, a number 2 there would make sense, but I also think it's good enough, right, for the rest of the talent they have on offense. It's the D-line that's an absolute mess. Secondary isn't very good anymore and hasn't been for a while.
O-line also.
But none of that should – I mean, it matters, but none of it matters right now. Right now, this falls on Russell Wilson's shoulders, period. I mean, you can't go 11 for 27 in a playoff game. I mean, the Rams defense is good. It's not your old Legion of Boom Seahawks good. You shouldn't be getting absolutely shut down by this team, especially when you have the mobility of Russell Wilson and the accuracy of Russell Wilson. Those two things combined are so hard to beat. I don't know if it's a mental thing. I don't know if it's a fatigue thing, but it's the same script every year. It's the same script that the Saints follow every year. The Saints are going to lose next week. We all know it. They aren't going to get past the second round of the playoffs. I don't care who they play. They got to play the Bears. Congrats. They would have lost to anybody else. But it's the same script every year for the last half a decade. Awesome out the gate. Then they're going to suck for a couple weeks. Then they're going to win most of their games on the back half, and then they're going to lose in the playoffs. It's just disappointing. It's a team that I watch and I want to win, and I want them to go on little runs like they did in the middle part of this last decade. And I just don't think they have it. And I think you're right. I think they got to get back to the drawing board and figure a couple different things out, because you can't keep going by the same formula that worked for you 5 years ago but hasn't worked for you since.
Yeah, something has to change. I guess I don't have a good feel for what it is. It feels like something major if they want to reach the next step. But
D-line is number 1.
12-4. They're 12-4 this year. It's hard. It's hard to complain about that.
Don't rebuild. I'm not saying rebuild. Let's go with
I'm like a little 2% implying maybe you make a big change. Maybe you blow it up a little bit. Just a little bit.
I like the Alavila term more. We're now rebuilding. We're retooling.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Even if that's a year where you go 9-7 or 8.
Sounds like bad rebuilding.
It is. We found that out. As Tigers fans, we found that out very much so. Retooling just means we're going to take a decade to rebuild. And then the Rams, I mean, their quarterback gets sent to the hospital because apparently his throat gets crushed, Frank Ragnow style.
Weird.
Jared Goff takes over, is average as hell. But all
Which
of
is
a sudden,
a big win for him.
Yes, especially how the second half of the season goes. But then all of a sudden, Cam Akers comes out of nowhere and puts up 130 yards on the ground. I mean, their defense was good. They were really good in this game. Don't get it twisted. But a mixture of, I think the Seahawks should be better than the Rams, especially with the quarterback situation, the most important position in all of football or in all sports. I was shocked by this game. It just kind of blew my mind.
The most bizarre result, the most 1 in 100 result for sure, is Wolford starting, getting hurt, Goff coming in, and then the Seahawks still losing anyway.
Yep.
I don't have any sense for what I think of Jared Goff anymore. I don't think the line is Jared Goff now, and we'll get into this later, but there are going to be a lot of teams with moving quarterback pieces, and I wonder if the Rams might end up being one of them at this point.
If they can. I mean, they're paying him $30 million a year.
Boy, that's kind of the move to me, sort of like when the Rockets traded for Russell Westbrook, where you're like, that is so against type for them. Why would they do that? Why did they do that? I know he was playing better at the time, but not that much better, and certainly not with that much consistency. So they're going to be really easy pickings for the Packers in the second round, probably.
I agree. Give me your thoughts on Saints-Bears.
The Bears played a really solid first half of football.
On defense, at least.
I guess. There's a thing. Tony Romo said that Drew Brees told him that he came back like maybe a week too early, and it's like, yeah, you probably came back 2 weeks too early. Saints are I think the Saints are really good, honestly. I think they're a really good football team, and I don't begrudge the Bears losing 21-9 to them. I think this a pretty respectable Bear season, all things in.
Yeah, hopefully it leads to them extending Matt Nagy and Mitch Trubisky. That's I think the Saints are like best case scenario the Denver Nuggets. Right?
Wow.
Like a really good regular season team that I guess could make a run to a conference title game, but it's probably like a first or second round exit.
Dude, I don't know, man. So they're gonna play the Bucks next, and do you think the Bucks are like that good? I don't think the Bucks are that good.
Like that's why I kind of think, right? All right, this is actually working out perfect. You know who the Bucks are? The Clippers. The Bucks are the Clippers. Why aren't they better? So like the Bucks should probably win, but the Saints could win. But then it doesn't matter because they're going to get their ass kicked in the Western Conference Finals / NFC Championship anyways.
So I think there's two team of destiny arguments that you can make this year. The first team of destiny is the Buffalo Bills. If they go 13-3 and it's the COVID season, they can't have any fans there. Really, they have a few, but and they go through the Colts, the Ravens, the Chiefs, and then the Packers, and they win all 4 of those games. That's some real team of destiny shit. The other team is the Saints, who the NFC is so weak this year that they could beat the Packers, or even stranger, they could beat the Rams in the NFC title game. And then what if it's the Bills? The Saints could beat the Bills. I don't know if I think the Saints are all that much better than any of the teams left in the AFC or the NFC, but I don't think that they're all that much worse.
I think on a talent standpoint, you're probably right. I think this is just
there's a lot of talent on the defensive side.
It's been 10 years since the Saints have made a serious run at a Super Bowl, and they've been there every year. They've been there every year, and they haven't got it done.
Drew Brees retiring as a Super Bowl champion. That's some team of destiny shit.
Well, he is a Super Bowl champion.
What you know what I mean?
But yeah, no. Like are you saying like last season?
Yeah. He goes out on top.
Yeah, I guess. I'm not into it. I just can't get myself to believe. You want to know why? By the way, I hadn't realized. Right? I mean, I knew, but I hadn't really realized how much this has happened to the Saints over the last decade. Until you started going on your tangent last year about Drew Brees in the back half of a fantasy football season.
Yeah.
And I started going over the numbers, and it's right, and it falls into the playoffs. And he was good today. But this is the first Saints team maybe of his career where it's going to come down to the defense. And I don't know if they're going to be able to just stop the Bucs. And if they play Green Bay, I know Aaron Rodgers isn't going to let them do what they want. I would actually say Green Bay is more of a team of destiny team than the Saints. Like Aaron Rodgers finally getting back to the top of the mountain. By the way, you disagreed with me on the Bills last week. Happy to see you came around on Team of Destiny Bills.
I was exactly correct on what would happen with the Bills.
Yeah, but not of the Team of Destiny thing. I said
no.
that
I
last week.
said it. I said it on the pod that you could make a Team of Destiny argument for the Bills. Yeah, I edited that shit.
Bet. Pull it up after the show. And then let's not forget about the Browns. Anytime the Browns can compete for anything, they have Team of Destiny potential. By the way, they are up 28-7 right now. We were going to wait till the end of that game to record this, and then they went up 28-0. And I've watched a million hours of football in the last 2 days.
Dude.
My
whole weekend has been football.
Yeah, I'm not watching a blowout. All right, what have we not talked about?
I heard a couple of different sports people call this a "don't get divorced" weekend, where don't like maybe pick your spots. Like if you're gonna have to miss a few games, maybe plan that out, fit something in there.
Yeah. Oh yeah, Miss Bears Saints. I've been telling you guys that since the middle of the week.
Yeah, I did. I was kind of in like a waking sleep during the Buccaneers Washington game. I was like, I really need to sleep for like an hour here if I'm going to do this stuff. And I kind of was like in and out of that game. It was the right game, I think, to be in and out of.
So I feel like, on to Ravens Titans, I feel like I have sold, not even on purpose, without even realizing, sold most of my Ravens stock. And I don't not believe in the Ravens. I think the Ravens can beat any team in football. I just think that it's one of those teams where they're always going to be missing something one week. And in the playoffs, in a Super Bowl run, you're always going to run into a team at least once that's got everything working. And I just feel like I haven't seen that from the Ravens all year. Not once.
I think today was almost like 90% of that, right? Where Lamar was running all over the place, and the defense
I think it was just great. Lamar. Yeah, defense and Lamar, but I didn't see anything special from the receivers. I know Hollywood Brown had over 100 yards, but I think that the Titans defense just had to kind of give up a little bit of room through the air. Mm-hmm. And I also think Lamar Jackson's not going to go 16 for 136 every week. And the fact that he did that this week and they still only scored 20 would be a little bit concerning to me if I was a Ravens fan. They did get their revenge, though. So now they're coming into next week on a high. The Titans took them out last year when the Ravens were a lot of people's favorites to win the Super Bowl. And the Titans came in and shocked the world, took them out, took the Patriots out. But Baltimore got their revenge. So who's Baltimore playing next week? They're playing
the Bills.
The Bills. Oh, yeah. Their season's over. No, I'm just kidding. They could totally beat the Bills. But I mean, I just think that's what they're going to run into, right? They're going to run into the Bills' defense might not be the best in coverage, but they are athletic. They're athletic as hell. They can move around the field. They can that's one of those defenses that can kind of move with Lamar Jackson, who I heard somebody in the broadcast today explain when Lamar Jackson jukes, he doesn't slow down at all.
That's what
I had always realized or noticed that Lamar Jackson just doesn't his speed doesn't change the whole time. But when you word it like that and then you watch it, just watch it looking for that exactly. It's fucking insane.
I don't even know how it's possible.
Adrian Peterson used to be kind of close to that. LaDainian Tomlinson was probably the best ever at it.
Yeah, Priest Holmes maybe.
Yeah, I mean,
a little Priest Holmes love in the chat.
There's some guys who have done it, but a quarterback who also, I mean, for every bad throw Lamar Jackson has, and there is some, he has 7 really good ones. He's just so damn good, and I'm so sick of people underrating him as a passer because he's a really good passer.
Sure.
He's not the best in the world, but mixed with those legs, I mean, he's very similar in ability to Michael Vick, just a little bit less accuracy on his throws.
Power,
but got the arm strength. I think he's close in power. I don't think he can. You're right. I think he's probably a tier down on that because Michael Vick was a freak, but I think he can put it all together better than Michael Vick ever could.
There's kind of this group of teams where I feel like it could, if they play each other 10 times, it could be 5-5. And the Ravens are in that, and I feel like the Buccaneers are in that. I think the Bills are the leader of that. And I think the Browns are kind of at the bottom of that. So it's kind of a weird group of playoff teams where I really feel like this could go anyway. I think that if you play this game 10 times, the Bills win 7 times, and the Ravens win 3.
All right, so before we go into next week's games and starts picking, if the Steelers come back and win this game after we record this, report our show, get us blocked from
Yeah,
every
would you
social media.
please end this?
Let's start Green Bay versus the Rams. I want to hear your thoughts on how that's going to go.
Green Bay's, I think, going to score a bunch of points, and I don't think that the Rams will score many more than 17 points. So 28-17 Packers.
I like that. I agree on all fronts. Green Bay is going to score a lot. Who knows what you're going to get from the Rams, right? I feel like all season we have no idea what we're going to see. Some weeks it's like, yeah, that team might be able to compete, go deep in the playoffs. And some weeks it's like, what am I watching? What is Jared Goff doing? The only thing consistent about this team is Aaron Donald. I like 34-21 Green Bay in that one.
I don't even think they're going to have full strength Aaron Donald. I think there was some injury.
Yeah, he just was doing one of these pretty much all the whole second half. Saints Bucks. It is an interesting game between maybe definitely the two most statistically accomplished quarterbacks of all time, and two of the top 7 or 8 quarterbacks. I don't know where I'd rank Drew Brees exactly, but two of the top quarterbacks to ever play the game. Possibly both on their last leg. I don't think Brady is. I think there's a shot Drew Brees is. Possibly in their last game for both of them. First of all, I hope the broadcast team doesn't treat it like an old man, like a 30-year high school reunion. Like, I hope the broadcast team isn't just celebrating the careers and we can focus on the football game.
Well, Al, they say Drew Brees can't make those throws anymore, but it's a pretty good one right there.
The whole game. That's exactly what I'm expecting the entire game.
Tom Brady, he's been throwing deep this year quite a bit. People are saying he's old and washed up, but it's 45 yards to Mike Evans right there.
How many times does the combined age of Drew Brees and Tom Brady get mentioned on the broadcast?
3 times in the pre-show and 5 times on air.
Oh, I think 3 times pre-show is way too low. I think 5 times on air is about right. I think we're going to be pushing 10 on the pre-show. I think it's going to be the topic of discussion. Give me your pick.
Two teams that I feel are extremely similar in talent. Probably the 2 closest teams to play each other in the playoffs so far. But I'm going to take the Saints by a touchdown. I'm gonna kind of riot. I really liked what I saw from the Saints today. I think that they're really good and dangerous.
I'm gonna take the Bucks for one reason. I want to see Aaron Rodgers versus Tom Brady in the playoffs. I want to see that.
Okay.
So I'm gonna go the Bucks. I'm gonna say it's big too. I don't know why. I just got a feeling it's gonna be 38-21 Bucks.
I'm gonna say 28-31 Saints.
28-31. That would be exciting.
Taysom Hill is still super good, man. I was kind of out for a while, but today I just really appreciated every time I saw him on the field.
By the way, I don't like any prediction that has this whole 1-score game for the Bucks losing, because I do not believe Brady, especially after the pick 6 to end the season last year, I do not believe Brady would let that happen. If he gets a drive to tie or win the game at the end of a game in these playoffs, he's getting it done.
Maybe Drew Brees is the one making that drive.
Ooh. I don't believe in Drew Brees either, so I still win the argument. All right.
Okay.
Chiefs Browns.
The Chiefs will probably win this game, but the Browns are going to show up, and it's going to be a tough game. But it's kind of the nuclear explosion of the Chiefs' offense and the cement wall of the Browns' defense. So, Chiefs 35-24. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I like it. I'm not going to pick against the Chiefs until they lose a playoff game.
It'd be foolish too.
I'm just not going to do it. So I think it'll be super close. Like you said, I think the Browns are going to show up. I think the Browns are awesome. I really do.
They're really good.
And I think they're only going to get better. Still super young on offense, at least, and most of the defense, but super young on offense. Baker's getting better. We've seen it from the start of the year to the end of the year. He's just a better quarterback. They found out how you should play him. He's not a guy. He's a game manager plus, right?
Yep.
It's instead of 7 to 10 yard routes, 10 to 15, but it's not 15 to 30. So he's a game manager plus who, when he really gets going, looks like an absolute superstar. He just threw a touchdown to Hooper, by the way, to make it 35-7 in the first half. Pending the extra point. But I think they're going to show up. This does have the weird feel of one of those playoff upsets that nobody saw coming, for sure, to me. But I'm still going to pick the Chiefs. I will not pick against Patty Mahomes in the playoffs until I see him lose.
Yeah.
And maybe the following year I'll think about it. But I'm going to say I'm going to say 28-21. No, 35-28 Chiefs.
If there's anybody besides LeBron who you got to feel comfortable with going down with the ship on, it's Patty Mahomes.
Yeah, which is wild because this is year 3 for him, which just shows how damn good the guy is.
He's one in a billion.
Yeah, he's a freak. And I think you got it so right earlier with the Bills being the Chiefs light. I had a conversation at work 2 days ago where it's exactly what I said about Josh Allen. He's Patty Mahomes light. He's not quite there, a little bit more inaccurate, but it's big arm. It can move behind the pocket or behind the line and in front, but behind they're really good. Just similar style. It's Patty Mahomes is Steph Curry, and Josh Allen is Trae Young. It's the next wave of players we're going to see. I'm really on it with my comparisons this week, man. I'm just killing it.
Yeah, man. I drank a tall glass of metaphor juice before this podcast started.
I did, and I chugged it, and it's hitting just right. All right, last game of next week to fill out our AFC and NFC title games. Bills versus Ravens.
I'd love to pick the Ravens here. I really would. I would really love to pick the Ravens here, but I just can't do it. I just can't do it. It's just not the right pick right now. I just didn't quite see enough from the Ravens. I would have liked to have seen a slightly larger margin of victory. I kind of didn't really like the Titans coming into this for all of the reasons you saw today. They're kind of a one-trick pony. They're like a 1.5 trick pony. But it's going to be really close. I'm going to say 31-27 Bills.
That sounds about right to me. But I'm going to be different. I'm going to say 34-27. And
why'd you stick with the 27?
That sounds about right. The 27. The 31 sounds about right too. But I want a touchdown difference in there. And you want to know the main reason why I want the Bills to win this game, other than I have just been rooting for them all year and I love Josh Allen. It's that Bills-Chiefs, to me, is the most exciting possible playoff game in the entire playoffs.
Is the over going to be 80?
It might be. And then it'll end up being 21-17 because in football games with high-scoring offenses or low, really good defenses, it's the same as an MLB game when 2 Cy Young winners go up against each other. It's always 9-7 in those Cy Young games, and it's always the opposite of what you expect in the football games. So I'm just, I think the Bills are a little bit better, like you said, maybe 7% better, and I think they're going to win by exactly that next Sunday or Saturday, depending on when it's scheduled. Football, man. Now I'm done watching it for the weekend. I'm done talking about it. Are you done talking about it?
Do you want to talk about Deshaun Watson?
Oh yeah. Okay, I'm almost done talking about it.
It seems like Deshaun Watson might get traded. It seems like he'd like to get traded, and I'm sure you agree with me that Deshaun Watson probably has a lot of reasons to want to be traded, a lot of valid reasons.
We can cut the list at one. DeAndre Hopkins.
Absolutely. But also some business kind of stuff, the business side of the NFL that Deshaun Watson has kind of been, it sounds like, surreptitiously lied to about his voice in, as well as kind of the politics. There's a lot of reasons. It's a big giant thing. It's probably been brewing for a while since DeAndre Hopkins.
Well, and the most recent one is what came out today. And that is what Schefter reported, that it looked like Louis Riddick was about to be hired as the general manager of the Texans. And that's who Deshaun Watson wanted. And then all of a sudden they went and hired Omar Khan from the Steelers. Shocked Deshaun Watson, shocked Louis Riddick. And Adam Schefter says Deshaun Watson's anger level was a 2. Now it's a 10.
I thought that they hired the Patriots personnel guy.
Steelers VP of Football and Business Administration, Omar Khan.
Well, who the heck's Nick Caserio then?
Oh, wait a minute. No, you're right.
Okay.
You're right.
So they hired the guy that they tried to get last time and then they couldn't get, and then they pretended to do a bunch of interviews and then said, "Nope, we're just going to take the guy we were going to take before." Whoops.
Yeah, and it pissed him off, and it should. I mean, don't.
Yeah.
Here's the thing: don't let Deshaun Watson just spoil. Don't let him be the Matt Stafford of the Houston Texans, because that's what's going to happen, right? I mean, I think that's
Sure. I think
I
it's
think
in play.
that's what we're looking at. So the trade, basically, the trade idea that came out was Tua, the Dolphins' first-round pick that they own from Houston, and I think one other filler piece for
There's
Deshaun
another
Watson.
first-round pick.
Oh, another first-round pick. Okay, for
like
Deshaun
32 or
Watson.
I think that's a lot to give up, even for Deshaun Watson. I think that adding Deshaun Watson to the Dolphins makes you a Super Bowl candidate right away. Right away.
So is it too much to give up still? I mean, that's
So, no, I mean, it sounds like a lot, but I don't think it is. Especially because I think that there might be a little 2% creeping down about Tua. More about what his ceiling is. I think his floor is probably a guarantee to be high enough, but I think the ceiling of him is kind of what's in question right now. So you can lock in 2 years of competing for a Super Bowl right now with that trade. And it makes a lot of sense. Deshaun Watson, I believe, is a Miami Dolphins fan. It seems like there's a couple shirts or pictures of him wearing a Dolphin shirt floating around. But
they're as good as anybody next year with him. As
So-
good as anybody.
absolutely, yeah, it might be like them and the Chiefs for just like pure talent on both sides of the ball, because obviously that defense is studly and the coaching is great. But I think that this is kind of what I find interesting is that there are going to be. I have a list of every NFL team who is in a quarterback situation. Where either they don't like their quarterback or they want to get a new one or they might be drafting one. And it's a pretty big list of teams. So we've got the Falcons, the Bears, the Cowboys, the Lions, the Texans, the Colts, the Rams, the Jets, the Steelers, the Washington Football Club, the Jaguars, the Panthers, the 49ers, the Saints, and the Pats. That's a lot. That's a lot of teams. That's like 15, 16 teams. And that's not even including the Raiders, the Vikings, and the Titans, who I think, if given the opportunity to upgrade their quarterback, would certainly not look away from that.
I think the Titans would, but other than that, I agree. I
Yeah,
think the Titans
maybe
are gonna run it
the
back.
Titans, maybe not. And it certainly seems like the Vikings are pretty locked into Kirk Cousins, for better or for worse. But so
Do any of these teams get more help? So I think basically the two teams that should look at this and say, with this guy, we can win a Super Bowl is the Colts and the Dolphins.
Yeah.
And there pretty much is no package that should be too much. Deshaun Watson is a superstar, not just a franchise quarterback, a superstar who has carried bad teams after bad teams to better than they should have been his entire career. Since he was at Clemson, the dude is a winner. I mean, we saw him lead a touchdown drive to win a national championship against Bama. I mean, the dude knows how to win. He just knows how to get the best out of his offenses. Every team on this list should be trying to trade for Deshaun Watson.
Yeah.
I even saw a little I don't know if it was a real rumor or a fake Twitter rumor, but I saw a little rumor about Okuda, the 7th pick, and I think Stafford for Deshaun Watson. Guess what? I hope it never happens because I don't want Deshaun Watson's career wasted here. But if I was the Lions, I'd think about it. That's how much this guy's worth.
That sounds like a Twitter trade more than a real
Yeah.
trade.
Yeah. I'd think about it, though.
So do you think that list, since we're kind of already there, increases the likelihood that the Lions trade Stafford?
It should. It definitely should. I have no idea what they're going to do until I know who they hired. The report came out, or the rumor came out today, that Saleh had a bad interview, that Marv Lewis is one of our top 3 candidates.
No, I heard.
It pretty much sounds like it's down to Saleh, Bevel, and Marvin Lewis. And if it's either of the other 2 that aren't Saleh, then cut it all down, just burn it, because we have 4 wasted years coming up.
Give me, what was the third one that you said there? Lewis, Saleh,
Marvin Lewis, Saleh, and Darrell Bevel. Darrell Bevel had a fantastic interview. Well, yeah, he knows exactly what you want to hear. He's worked for you for 2 years.
Boy, I heard an athletic reporter talk about, the Lions and Marvin Lewis, and I yelled, please, no Marvin Lewis. There's some genuinely good coaching candidates. Arthur Smith, another one.
I'm just irritated even having to talk about it. That's what the Lions do. I shouldn't have to talk. Marvin Lewis is for a team. You want to know when Marvin Lewis should be hired if he gets another NFL job? A team that has won a Super Bowl 3 years prior and is on their way down. They fired their coach and they're going for one last gasp. Bring him in there and see if he can change something. That's what the job Marvin Lewis is waiting for should be. Not for a team that's never won anything, one playoff game in almost 60 years, and has no idea what their future is. Marvin Lewis isn't a rebuilding coach. That's not what he should be there for. Sure, Marvin Lewis, I don't want to underrate him either. He made the playoffs a million times in his career. He just can't get past the first round. And, I'm okay if our next step is making the playoffs, but I can't have that be our best step. That's the one small step forward. It's not the giant leap. And Marvin Lewis only gets you the small step forward.
So, Marvin Lewis was in Cincinnati, and I know that shit's, different. I'm told it's different out there. But that's a loser move. Marvin Lewis is kind of a loser move. There's so many good young coaching guys out there, guys who got fired this year. I don't know.
It's bananas that he's even on in the list of finalists.
See, now I feel like this thing has happened where now there's a few different things floating around about Marvin Lewis, and that is what makes me think that it's going to be Marvin Lewis because Robert Saleh had a bad interview, whatever that means.
Yeah. The Fords don't like him. We don't like the guy.
Wow, Sheila, you're looking real homely today. Is that what that means?
Well, all right.
Is it what I would like to run this scheme and whatever Chris Spielman, that's who it is, right? Chris Spielman is well, that doesn't make any sense with the personnel. And so then they have
I think if Spielman is making the call here, Robert Saleh would already be hired.
Why do you say that?
Because Spielman is a football guy, and it sure seems like Robert Saleh is too. Spielman is a defensive guy. We know that's what Robert Saleh is. Spielman is, in his career, he was a heart and soul guy, and that's what Robert Saleh is.
For sure.
So if it was Spielman, I think he'd already be hired. And I still think it's going to be Saleh. I think there's just rumors. I think it's the Lions. But don't let it be Darrell Bevell, and please don't let it be Marvin Lewis. But especially Darrell Bevell. I'll be more mad about Darrell Bevell than I will Marvin Lewis. Darrell Bevell was a part of the culture that has been created here over the last 4 years. Obviously, he wasn't there the whole time, but he was a part of that culture. And we got to completely eliminate all of that. And I know players like him, and the culture sounds from what you hear in interviews, sounds like it changed a little bit, but he was here. And I want to wash our hands of the entire regime.
He's going to hire the Seahawks defensive coordinator, and it's going to fucking suck. Have you heard anything?
That we're looking at for our GM, Seahawks assistant GM, I think, or something.
Yes, that's what I'm going to ask you. What have you seen for interviews for the Lions for GMs? Have you seen anything?
I've seen a whole lot of names. The Lions actually posted on their Twitter, but I just honestly, I don't know how to evaluate a GM or a GM candidate. They've all been scouts. They've all been directors of player personnel. They've all done the same things. And they've all been successful at it in one way or the other. What I do know is anybody who's been in the Seahawks front office for the last decade has done a hell of a job, especially late in drafts. I
feel that way about the Steelers as well.
Entire Legion of Boom was built in the 4th round and after. The entire thing. So I'm totally okay with it. I can't even remember the guy's name right now. It's slipping my mind. But there's a ton of candidates. Just pick one, and I'll decide after the draft how I feel about the guy.
Are you worried about the NBA with COVID?
Yes, I am.
Really?
I'm not worried about the season being canceled, but I'm worried about the season being delayed. They canceled the game tonight. The 76ers had to play with 8 guys the other night, which led to Tyrese Maxey taking 33 shots and scoring 40 points. So this is our second canceled game of the season. We've had 2 where they've been super limited on their roster. And I think we've learned from the other sports that you're either going to push through this initial phase where it gets worse and worse and worse for a month and a half, 2 months, or you're going to have to stop. And I think the NBA is the most likely out of all these sports to stop. I also think the NBA players are the most likely to ask for it to stop. God, my voice is super raspy right now. I'm sorry. I talk literally all week for my job. So you get a month and a half, and if it gets too bad in this month and a half, I think we see a delay. I know that behind the scenes, there's no proof of this, but I know behind the scenes the NBA is pushing to try to figure out how to get the vaccine to its players as soon as possible. But that's not going to be until at least April, I would guess, at least March or April.
I actually think I saw something where the NBA had signed some pledge that they weren't going to get vaccines until
it's their turn.
Yeah, XYZ people have done it.
But I know they're pushing as soon as X, Y, and Z are done, they're going to be there first in line.
Yeah.
So I'm concerned. I'm not overly concerned yet, but I'm getting there. It's definitely on the table. Cases have been dropping most places in the country, or at least they were, and now we're starting to see them tick up again. Here in Michigan, we got down to 2,000 cases a day, and we're back to 4,000 to 5,000 every day. So it all depends on how COVID feels like acting that week. But we're going to see a couple weeks here in the NBA where it's worse than it is now, and it's going to be hard to get through that.
Yeah, so it is interesting that every sport's kind of had the exact same pathway through the virus where when at the beginning of whatever they're starting, the case level is very, very high. I'm kind of shocked that the NBA is having such a hard time compared to what the NFL has had. With the number of people and like the fewer places that number of people can go, the exposure levels. I know that it's like buses and stuff, but how do NFL players get around, right? I've been a little surprised at how difficult it has been for the NBA so far. I don't think that they'll cancel this season unless the NBA players all of a sudden one day wake up and are like, well, we're not doing this anymore. But the cost of that is going to be very, very high. For NBA players, it's going to cost them a lot of money. So I think that, as Tony Kornheiser likes to say, the answer to all of your questions is money. And I think that they will power through because the NBA is the most to lose financially, it sounds like.
Yeah.
It seems like from the way that they talk about it. So
I got to tell you, though, with the vaccine coming, we know it's coming. We're not all ahead of ourselves anymore. It's going to be a semi-slow process, but we're getting there. And the Pistons playing today and me looking out my window and seeing LCA lit up, there's just about nothing in the world I am more excited for than the first game back at LCA. Because I will be there.
I can't believe how much I want to leave. Like, I've never wanted to like go out into the world more than this like last month and a half. What Muskegon? Fuck it, I'll go to Muskegon. I don't care.
Me and my buddies are talking about getting an Airbnb at Boyne Mountain, and none of us snowboard. We're like, yeah, let's go try snowboarding. Let's see what happens.
I like really want to go do improv, which is like a pregnancy craving. It's like pickles and peanut butter. Like, it doesn't make any sense.
I've seen you post improv before, and you always come back with the same look of like pure exhaustion on your face. And like, it's always like, it's cool. I like it. I never want to do it again. It's always the same look.
Improv takes a lot out of me. It takes out the brain juice in my brain skull.
Yeah, your shoulders will slunch. Yeah, all right. Well, we got some stuff next week. We're of course going to talk more football. We're going to talk a little bit more basketball, kind of what we saw, things we've noticed early part of the season. I'm hoping we still have to talk LaMelo Ball next week because guys, that dude's legit.
That dude's real good.
Youngest triple-double ever. But NFL playoffs, week 1 especially of it, rules the roost.
Yeah.
So thank you all for listening.
Oh, God, we made it to the end of this ridiculous football marathon.
Yeah, I'm done with football until Saturday at 4 or whenever the next game is. I'm not even thinking about it. But for my hiccups that I have, Double P producer Parker and myself, your host, Andrew Norris, thank you so much for listening. Go tell your mother you love her.